Welcome back to Pop Goes the 60s. I am Matt Williamson, and I wanted to give you the results of the surveys that I had put out there for the 10 reasons why the Beatles broke up. Now, if you haven't seen any of those videos, I did a 3-part series on the 10 reasons why the Beatles broke up. And at the end, there was a survey for you to partake in to rank the 10 reasons I came up with and to offer other reasons if you felt like I missed any. So I want to go through the results here, and it's kind of interesting actually, because one of the things I noticed right off the bat was that all the 10 reasons ranked 1 to 10, the average ranking was between 3.5 and 7.5. So that's all the answers are kind of right in the middle of the graph. And that shows me that there's a lot of parity in the reasons that the Beatles broke up, at least amongst the people that filled out the survey anyway. There was nothing on any far end of the scale really in this survey. And I thought that was interesting. So let's just start. I'm going to start with the number one reason that people thought the Beatles broke up, and that was the loss of Brian Epstein. And that was 7.33. So that averaged over 70% of people felt that was the main reason that the Beatles broke up. That surprised me. I didn't have that in my top 3. And I think I had John 1 and Klein 2 was my personal. I was the first person that took the survey. I had to make sure it worked. But the way the survey set up, I couldn't take it again, so I couldn't change my answer if I wanted to. But anyway, the loss of Brian Epstein, number 1. Number 2 was John Lennon. That was at 6.8. And I could completely understand that. I felt like he was one of the main reasons the band ended was because as John goes, the Beatles go. Klein came on right after Lennon at 6.75, and Yoko Ono came in at number 4 at 6.50. So those the top 4 were very close in ranking, and only about 1.5 percentages away from each other. Now that there's the next group are all pretty tight as well. So at number 5 we have Band Dynamics. That's 5.75. It Was Time for Them to Break Up. That was at 5.33. And the business dealings at 5.25. Now, I would have thought the business dealings would have been higher. That was my personal opinion. So I was surprised to see that in the 7th spot. The final 3 lagging behind would be number 8, Drugs. Number 9, The End of Touring. And the last one, Paul McCartney. That's at 3.5. End of Touring is 3.5. And Drugs were at 4.1. They were much tighter than I expected them to be, and I think that shows that there isn't a lot of agreement on why the Beatles broke up, and or there are multiple factors. So I think that's why we have this parity. I'm going to leave the survey open. If any of you have seen this after I've given these results, feel free to take the survey. I may come back to this. Maybe these will fluctuate a little bit. We will see over time. Now, the thing that was a little even more interesting was, well, what were people going to say of reasons that I didn't cover? Of the 10 reasons I didn't cover, what were the other reasons that people felt made the Beatles break up? And there was one answer that was by and far way above anybody else. I had 49 people suggest George Harrison was the reason the Beatles broke up. And when they wrote the reasons why, obviously there's a lot of reasons. Not getting the amount of songs on albums, he was not happy in the band, he was passive aggressive, he was, all these other things. He was the reason why people gave an 11th reason. So George is the 11th reason, I guess you could say, for the reason of the band breaking up. The second one, the second most popular one, this dips down quite a bit, that the Beatles didn't take a break. At the end of their career, probably after the White Album, it maybe might have made sense to take a break instead of after just doing a whole double album that they were going to do live for a TV show at Christmas, saying, well, let's just do all new songs. That was pretty ambitious, and I think that hurt them a little bit. So the next one, there were 6 people who said that they probably needed a break. So we had 5 people saying these next 3. So there was too many songwriters in the band, poor communication among band members, and this one was kind of interesting. The 60s ended, it's like the 60s broke up, so that the Beatles broke up. And this kind of speaks to the whole idea that the Beatles were much bigger than the 4 guys. that it almost was this mythic band that just had a life of its own, that helped drive the 60s, and the 60s helped drive it, and they just didn't even have control of it. So I thought that was kind of an interesting answer. Number 6, we had publishing issues. This would have been the rights to the songs. Number 7, I combined these two. These were 2 songs. People blamed 2 songs on the reason the band broke up. One was Cold Turkey, and one was Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Now, you couldn't get 2 songs more on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Two voted for Lennon, saying that because they didn't record Cold Turkey, that's why the band split up. And 2 other people blamed Maxwell's Silver Hammer because McCartney drove the band so hard in that song that they couldn't play anymore, apparently. Okay, number 8. This is one I combined because it's really the same answer, but some people said that there was too much competition from other bands, that the Beatles felt threatened by this and it felt like it was time to close up. So that was 5 people said that, and another 5 people said that there were no other bands to compete with, and that's the reason they broke up. So you had completely opposite answers in that case. Number 9, we had a reason of being rich, arrogant, big egos, and feelings of infallibility. So I grouped those all together. Number 10, they all had individual pursuits. That broke up the band. Number 11, the inability for them to see that they could have had both. They could have taken a break and been in the Beatles. You know, that's not a bad one, actually. And that number 12, that the breakup was accidental, that Lennon didn't mean to push the band that hard. You know, some people say that he was exercising a power play to get control back of the band, and it just went too far, and the members lost control. Not a bad answer. Number 13, immaturity. Number 14, the fans in the world love them too much. I don't know, I think that's what might have kept them together. You would think, but I guess not. Number 15, John couldn't keep up with Paul. Number 16, jealousy, the old Mona Best trope. Number 17, the Eastmans. Now the Eastmans, I'm a little surprised that more people didn't say the Eastmans. That would include Linda, I suppose. And we're down to only 1 person said the Eastmans. 1 person said Phil Spector. 1 person suggested that the band became an unwelcome vehicle for art. I think we saw this with Lennon. The Two Virgins album cover and things like that. He's going the complete opposite way of the Beatles image. And number 20, last and not least, my favorite, good old Liverpool stubbornness. So you in the north there of England can explain yourselves on that. So, but anyway, I thought these were all very good answers too. So I'm really glad that we were able to have such a good discussion here through this channel, through the comments, and through this survey. And I think we really broadened the scope of this a little bit, and it can be picked up at any point to continue discussion if need be. I got to share this one with you guys, because this one answer, God love them here, they said, hey, great series of video, but I don't think you've touched on the heart of the matter. I don't know, I thought I was pretty thorough. And then they go on to suggest that Lennon was a problem and Klein. I thought I'd cover those, but maybe I missed those. Anywho, we got very close to 1,000, and I'm going to still keep it open. We're going to hit that 1,000. I'm really happy to have closed. I'm kind of closing up 2022 with this. I'm a little bit late on this, but I thought this was a good way to get into more Beatle discussions. Because after you talk about the breakup, it's sometimes a little bit easier to talk about the solo stuff. John Heaton and I have done a couple solo collaborations on a couple albums. I may do a little bit more of that as well in the coming year. Have a lot of new bands coming up. I'm working on some stuff already. So you will be seeing some stuff in short order here. So check back soon, and I thank you for watching Pop Goes the 60s. 'Cause I couldn't stand the pain. Take a sad song and make it better, because this boy wants you back again.